Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. I'm here with the 2022 Ford Maverick Hybrid, the least expensive hybrid and the least expensive pickup you can buy in the United States. I'm Branden Flash. Let's go for a first drive. All right, you're joining me now inside this base hybrid Ford Maverick. It does have a turnkey little switchblade. Let's get it started up. We do have to put the key in the ignition, kind of a weird concept these days. We're in Nashville, Tennessee today. Vehicle just turned on, we're now ready. Seatbelt is on, it's saying okay to drive. Got a full tank of gas, ready to drive, okay. AC is kicking on, let's turn that up a little bit. Does have automatic climate control, and again, this is the most base car that Ford has in the Ford Maverick. And let's reset these trips so that we have a good idea of fuel economy we can expect from this. Ford does want this to get about 40 miles per gallon. Did not reset that, there we go. But they do not have official EPA numbers quite yet. All right, now that we've got that reset, we're gonna be putting it into drive. Not sure if you can see this, but we do have a rotary dial and we're shifting it into drive. And we've got Apple CarPlay going for navigation. And I'll be sharing some of my first impressions with you guys. Engine just kicked on right away. So this vehicle does have about a 96 kilowatt electric motor for the hybrid system and a 1.1 kilowatt hour battery for that. And that's located under the passenger side of the cab. I say cab just referring to the area, being that this is a unibody construction vehicle. And this is built on Ford's C2 architecture, which is also shared with the Bronco Sport, not to be confused with the full-size Bronco, just the baby Bronco, as well as the Escape. So let's, good brakes as this person pulls out in front of me. And this is front-wheel drive, has a little bit of torque steer, or not, I shouldn't say torque steer, had a little bit of wheel slip there as I accelerated quickly to pull out there. It does have a brake coach that pops up. It says 91% energy returned. I'm a little skeptical of that after that hard brake. And we do actually have a little phone dock down here. Not sure if you can see that, with an indentation for a cord. There's an optional wireless charger you can get down here as well. Be sure to check out our walk around video that will be up before this. I'll have a link up there for you guys. And now we're just waiting for this light to go green so we can go. I am going to floor it so that way we can get an idea of acceleration. It's about 155 pound-feet of torque, I believe. I'll have to double check the number, I'll put it down for you. But they would not give the torque number combined with the hybrid output. Unfortunately, the hybrid is only available in front-wheel drive rather than also all-wheel drive. I think that maybe was a little bit of a miss for the northern climates, but I think this will still be a very good around town city car for a lot of small businesses, pool services, small lawn care, a lot of that, and a lot of just people that need a commuter car that's pretty efficient, but can also haul some things on the weekends, whether it's DIY projects, bikes to go mountain biking, whatever the case may be. Let's floor it. Pretty darn good acceleration for a pickup. It feels a lot more like a car so far in first impressions, and that is a little bit more of what it is versus being a truck. At least in the traditional sense, it does not have a ladder frame. But not having a ladder frame and being built on a unibody platform did give them a lot of flexibility with interior packaging, as well as making this space between the bed and the cab a lot smaller and more usable. So this told us 92% energy returned. And I don't know if you can see it, but there is a gauge here that will go into the charging area. I don't believe there is a way for me to see hybrid energy flow, unfortunately. Just take a look here through the... Unfortunately, I'm not seeing much as far as hybrid information goes. This interior feels pretty darn solid, especially for a base car. Does have a lot of hard touch plastics, but from speaking to the engineers, they want it to be kind of true to what the car is and not make things seem fake. It kind of has more industrial finishes rather than plastic that tries to be leather. This door card feels pretty good. I mean, for a sub $20,000 car, it feels very well put together. Cushion where it counts on the armrest as well as on the door card. I do wish this door card was kind of this faux leather, like vinyl type stuff, like the center armrest, rather than this cloth, just for keeping it clean, especially if it's being used in more of a fleet environment, which I think these will be very commonly used in. Plenty of headroom. I'm 6'2". Seat goes back far enough. I mean, I have it all the way back, but that's pretty typical for any vehicle I am in. And we're just driving it like normal here. Feels pretty well composed. This is actually on the steel wheels, if you didn't notice, which I'm a huge fan of. I like that they kept them silver and didn't put hubcaps or anything on them. It's kind of a cost-saving measure, but also it sticks to that not trying to be something that it's not, which is one of my biggest pet peeves in automotive design. Partial throttle response feels pretty good. This does have a CVT transmission, which I'm not usually a fan of in pretty much any vehicle, but so far this feels pretty natural. It doesn't feel like it's rubber bandy or anything too much. And Ford does say that this vehicle is targeted towards kind of a doer audience, more urban environments where the smaller size is an advantage. The bed, as you'll see on the walk around video, has a lot of different spaces for making this into the vehicle of your own. It has slots for boards, it has pre-tapped holes, it has 12-volt power run back there that's fused and designed for accessories. And Ford is really embracing kind of the, I hate to use the word hacking community, but kind of car hacking of sorts, where you make it into what your own, or make it into what you want it to be for your use, whether that's building a platform with some drawers or to put a bed on if you want to go camping over the weekend. Ford does have a topper, they have tonneau covers, you can get it with a bed liner, all that fun stuff. Pretty standard truck stuff, and for a small truck, it's nice to see that Ford is coming out with all those accessories to support you being able to use it as a truck, even though it's built on a more car platform. Does have a lot of standard safety features: auto headlights, auto high beams, automatic emergency braking. We're not going to try that out though, at least not intentionally. And I think those features are going to lead to safer cities, dare I say, and could actually have an impact in city emissions. And whether I like this vehicle or not, Ford is going to sell a lot of them. The F-150 has been the #1 selling truck for, I believe, 50 plus years. And even if this takes 10% of those sales for people that really don't need a full-size truck and really just want a bed and to be able to haul some things, well, that's good for fuel economy. That's good for Ford's CAFE requirements, which, let's get into why this vehicle exists now and why this vehicle is hybrid standard. So the way that CAFE fuel economy standards are done for trucks, and CAFE meaning corporate average fleet economy, or basically the government regulating fuel economy for each manufacturer. On trucks, it's calculated using the footprint of the vehicle. So yes, the area that the vehicle covers on the ground, which is why we saw a lot of the standard cab pickups go away in the past years as those fuel economy requirements needed to come up. Those vehicles just had too small of a footprint for the powertrain that was being used in the larger vehicles as well. So they had to kill it off in favor of the larger vehicles, and now that Ford has managed to make the hybrid system more affordable, more reliable, and it's just more accepted in the public eye, especially in a pickup truck, I think it's the right time for a hybrid pickup. I like to think of this Maverick kind of as Ford Ranger meets Prius in a way. You kind of get a little bit of the benefits of both, and the buyer for this vehicle isn't going to be shopping the traditional other pickups as their comparables. They might be looking at a wagon. Unfortunately, there are not many available in the US. Hatchbacks, sedans, other good fuel economy vehicles, and probably not other trucks for a lot of buyers. They just need something that's practical, fuel efficient, can haul some things, and get the job done for them. And I think having a pickup bed will add a lot of flexibility for those buyers. And not to mention, in a fleet environment, this vehicle will dramatically increase the fuel economy and lower the running costs of said fleet for a lot of those smaller businesses. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of these replace older Rangers, maybe older Tacomas, from when those vehicles were actually small versus now. The Ranger's gotten a bit bloated compared to what it used to be. The Tacoma isn't that small anymore either, and with a 4-cylinder front-wheel drive, I think it's perfect for those more urban environments. I lived in Phoenix for a bit, and you couldn't go half a mile without seeing multiple Tacomas for pool services, lawn care, and a lot of them were pretty beaten up. And I think a base Maverick like this would be a perfect replacement for that. And we're going again here. So for the first half of this drive, we are going to be driving the hybrid. And then at the halfway point of our drive, we'll be switching to the EcoBoost model and see how that goes. Horn works well. This person tries to turn into my lane. But so far, driving this around the city, we're averaging 24.6 miles per gallon. It's not amazing, but we're also not really trying right now either. And I'll leave you guys until we get to a little bit more open space and see how it does at a little bit maybe higher speed. And I think there's some twisty roads actually on this route for us. We're back. We've done about 8 miles now, and we're so far averaging, according to the car computer, just over 34 miles per gallon, which I find pretty fantastic. I'm not driving it super easy. Steady state throttle, I'm not driving too quickly, but I've certainly been flooring it at just about every opportunity. And we're making a slight detour to Starbucks. It wouldn't be an Out of Spec Reviews video without a strawberry acai refresher. So I'll see you in the Starbucks drive-thru. And we're back. We've got our Starbucks strawberry acai refresher, and let's get back on the route here. Let's just try out the turning circle here and see. Ford claims about 40 feet, so let's just try it from a stop, full lock. It's certainly no ID4, but it is very respectable, especially for a vehicle with front wheels driven. Will be plenty maneuverable for those doing like in-city deliveries or whatever the case may be where you need some tight turning circle. And let's try and get out of this parking lot without getting hit, as usual. So we're kind of outside of Nashville proper at this point. And it looks like we're going on a route towards Leiper's Fork Distillery, kind of in the Natchez Trace Parkway Bridge area. And I believe it's about an hour and a half or so drive for this first leg. The steering does firm up a fair amount when you're on throttle, which is to be expected. And even just in general, it's fairly heavy, which is a bit surprising, but I'm a fan. Not everyone necessarily will be. Some prefer very light steering, but I personally do not. We're heading up into the Tennessee mountains area. And the transmission is actually handling it really well. We're kind of doing a little bit of an uphill, downhill kind of thing. It doesn't seem to be hunting like some CVTs do. And we're actually in regen right now. And it's not very aggressive, but when you do get back on throttle, it's just right there. There's no delay or anything like on some hybrids. I must say, powertrain calibration seems to be pretty spot on with this. Doesn't seem to be too much body roll or anything. And even so far, we're still averaging 35 miles per gallon over about 11 miles. Clearly not a very indicative reading. You'll have to watch Kyle's video when he eventually gets one for a longer term test. He should do a 70 mile an hour highway fuel economy test. The Maverick unfortunately does not have wireless CarPlay. It is only wired CarPlay. But I think that's fine on a vehicle of this price point. I don't believe the Lariat even has it, which is kind of unfortunate. I think a vehicle with wireless charging and in $30,000-ish price range should probably have wireless CarPlay at this point, but I won't knock them too hard. But I think it was a smart move for Ford to leave the infotainment system pretty bare bones and rely on CarPlay, as I think that's just the better way to approach it, especially on a vehicle like this that will probably stay on the road for quite a while. That way the infotainment system doesn't become dated and obsolete very quickly, and instead is just updated as people update their phones. So it says brake coach and 93% energy returned. So I'm not entirely sure if that's talking about energy return for that particular braking instance, or if it's telling me how much charge is in the hybrid battery. AC does seem to stay blowing cold even with the engine off, which is a good sign. I'm not sure if that's just using residual refrigerant cycling, or if the HVAC system can be run on the high voltage system. And this vehicle is powered by a 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle 4-cylinder engine. Makes 191 horsepower combined and 155 pound-feet just the engine. As I mentioned, Ford does not list a combined number, but I suspect it's probably a fair bit higher than that. I believe the hybrid motor itself is around 180 pound-feet of torque. So combined, it should be pretty respectable. This certainly has enough power to get out of its own way. I haven't taken it on the interstate to get up to a little bit higher speeds. However, my first vehicle was a 99 Ford Ranger with the 4-cylinder, and this has a lot more pep in its step than that, to say the least. Seats are pretty comfortable. We've got a pretty durable feeling cloth interior on this base XL. The Lariat does have a faux leather option, and that one looked pretty good. Hopefully we can get in that and show you guys that as well. But I'm digging these cloth seats. And these seats are manually adjusted as well, of course. They do have tilt, they have up and down, and they have forward and back. So pretty standard basic adjustments. I don't see a lumbar adjustment on them, unfortunately. That's not the end of the world, especially given the price point. And I actually do hear the pedestrian warning come on below 20 miles an hour after the engine has shut off, kind of a spaceship sounding noise. Doesn't seem too obnoxious, nothing special. I'll see if I can try to capture that. And looks like we're going to be hopping on a parkway here. And just an update on fuel economy. Looks like we are at, if it wants to hide the brake coach, 37.3 miles per gallon as of right now. And the powertrain calibration, as I mentioned, seems to be pretty solid. The transition from hybrid power at initial takeoff to once you get going a little bit more and the engine kicks on seems to be very smooth, and aside from the slight added vibration and the slight noise of the engine, to the average person they probably wouldn't even notice. The engine seems to have a fairly pleasant tone, not whiny or obnoxious, nothing special, but certainly I don't have anything negative to say about it. Handling around this cloverleaf, it's adequate. Again, this is a small pickup. Nothing spectacular, but certainly suits the job. We'll get going a little bit more spiritedly through here and see how it reacts to it. There's a car just kind of pulled off up here. All right, we're just going to continue here. Looks like there's a gate for if they want to close this road. But let's see how this does. We're just on some standard Continental all-season tires. Nothing too special about those either. And when you mat it down, it reacts. It does have a little bit of rubber band at the top end. I don't have a tachometer to know what it's revving up to, but I do have a power gauge, and it will hold at 100 if you floor it, especially at a little bit higher speed. When I floored it at lower speed, it didn't seem to go to 100%. It must be cutting power to reduce wheel spin. I didn't have a traction control light or anything come on. Right now you can definitely feel that this is a front wheel drive vehicle, just the way it's kind of pulling out of corners rather than kind of pushing from the behind. But again, the average person buying this vehicle, they're not buying it to take it up to canyon roads and rip it. They're buying it as their everyday vehicle. But it's not going to disappoint you if you want to go a little bit more spirited through the corners. Just be mindful if you have anything in the bed. You probably want to have that covered or secured so it's not bouncing around or bouncing out while you're hooning this a little bit. We're going up in elevation a little bit, just felt my ears pop. Road noise is acceptable. Nothing spectacular about it. I would say it's about what I would expect. No glaring wind noise. Does seem a little bit tinny. It could probably benefit from a little bit of sound deadening, but again, for the price point, I'm certainly not expecting that. But if someone wanted to add that, that would probably be an improvement. We'll see how it handles in the higher trim levels as well. And now we're scooting a little bit higher pace, and it's doing it. Brakes feel pretty solid. They are a little bit on the grabby side in my opinion. Very high in the pedal, you get strong initial bite, almost a little too strong. And it does the job through these curvy roads. We are dropped down to 33 miles per gallon though. That's to be expected, but actually not as bad as I would expect with how I'm driving. But let's tone it down a little bit, just see how it handles this little bit of a scenic drive. Let's talk capabilities for a moment before we wrap this up in the hybrid. This vehicle does have a 1,500 pound payload capacity, but you can spread that out anywhere in the vehicle, whether it's in the cab or in the bed. 1,500 pounds in the bed is very respectable for this class of pickup. And it can actually tow 2,000 pounds. Even with the front wheel drive hybrid, there is not a max tow package available on the hybrid. However, you can get a 4,000 pound max tow package on the EcoBoost with four-wheel drive. So if you need maximum towing capability, you do have to move to the EcoBoost and get slightly worse fuel economy, and you do have to upgrade to that four-wheel drive. They're not offering a front-wheel drive with the max tow package, unfortunately. And overall, I'm very impressed with the dynamics of this. The hybrid powertrain calibration seems to be pretty spot on. I don't see any glaring defects, and if you're in the market for kind of a smaller vehicle with a lot of utilitarianism, while also being very affordable, I think this is a fantastic option. I think Ford's going to be getting a lot of new customers with this that would otherwise go with some of the more Japanese makes, and may end up pulling in some of those Civic buyers, those Corolla hatch buyers, and ending up with them having their first ever pickup truck. But anyway, stay tuned for our 4x4 EcoBoost review as well. That will be a separate video. And be sure to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.